Chapter 29. Documents. James had to do it. He'd agreed with Kerry once he realised that she wasn't going to help, but only because he knew he'd never get a snog while they were arguing. James's first idea was to sneak across campus in the early hours of the morning, but that would be highly suspicious. He knew from personal experience that the mission preparation building was usually almost empty by 6 p.m. If he got caught at that time, he'd be able to claim that he'd found the door open and was looking for Hewitt, provided he didn't get caught red-handed with his nose in a secret file. There was a light drizzle in the evening air as he headed towards mission preparation. James bottled out a couple of times, and even stopped walking, before finally committing himself to the section of curved path leading towards the long banana-shaped building. Cherub training teaches you that confidence is the key. It's best to act like you haven't got a care in the world, even when you're cacking yourself. Campus was monitored by numerous security systems, but with hundreds of cameras and hundreds of people moving around, the security staff were unlikely to get excited about anything that didn't look too suspicious. James approached with a swagger, swiped his card, pushed the door when it clicked, and tried not to make it too obvious that he was attempting to see as far ahead as possible as he peered down the curving corridor that led to Hewitt's office. The office wasn't locked. Hewitt usually left early to pick his kids up from nursery, but James knocked just in case. When he didn't get an answer, he stepped in and flipped the light switch. James didn't have keys to the filing cabinets or cupboards, so it was lucky that Hewitt was a slob. He began flicking through some of the papers stacked on the desk. Invoices, plane tickets, lists of babysitters for the kids, a vet's bill for Meatball, and a lot of stuff related to an upcoming mission in Taiwan. Frustrated, James tugged at the 3 locked desk drawers before eyeing a giant stack of papers on the glass coffee table in front of Hewitt's sofa. James saw his own photograph on top of the stack. It had been taken on the day he joined Cherub, and James was surprised by how much he'd changed. He barely recognised the chubby, innocent face, and could only envy the absence of zits. James Adams, confidential file. The cardboard folder was 10 centimetres thick, bursting with his entire life. School reports from Year 1 onwards, a summary of his performance in basic training written by Mr. Large, mission reports, punishment reports. There were surveillance photographs of Lauren's dad, Ron, a coroner's report on his mother's death, massive cardiac failure caused by interaction of alcohol and anti-inflammatory medicine, secondary cause obesity, and even details of his mum's safety deposit box. It was a tantalising chance to know what people had said about him, but it would take hours to plough through it all, and James had to focus on Hewitt's investigation. The stack was 30 centimetres high, and certainly gave the impression that Hewitt was being thorough. As he flipped through, James found reports on Boris and Isla, including pictures of them when they were younger, and their bloody remains in the Aero City morgue. Isla had been shot in the face, and James only recognised her by her evening dress and watch. The only thing that kept coming up was the name of Lord Hilton, chairman of Hilton Aerospace and a major business partner of Dennis Oberdon. Hilton appeared on the television every so often, and James remembered the face, not because he was interested in the aerospace industry, but because Hilton had a single bushy eyebrow that stretched from one side of his head to the other. It was a cartoonist's delight. The contents of the next folder hit James like a slap. Blurry black and white images printed on glossy paper. The stills were from Dennis Oberdon's office and showed him being murdered by Isla and Boris. It was clearly taken from the CIA footage that he'd seen in Aero City. The following pages showed more stills, some of them annotated with handwritten notes, whilst others were huge pixelated enlargements of tiny sections of a particular frame. The last page was a fax message. Hewitt, I've spent hours going through these images. I've checked shadow details, made enlargements, and broken the video down frame by frame, looking for glitches. I have also compared facial images and mechanical details, such as stride pattern and mannerisms, with surveillance videos of Boris and Isla taken inside MI5 headquarters. The state of modern computer graphics technology makes it impossible to guarantee that any video footage is real. But if this is a fake, or has been staged by actors and retouched, it has been produced to a higher standard than anything we are capable of. For the purposes of your investigation, I think you should consider this footage 100% genuine. Rod Harper, Metropolitan Police, Photo and Video Forensic Department. James looked at the send date and saw that Hewitt had received the fax more than a week earlier, but he told James that he was still trying to get hold of the video less than 2 days ago. Two-faced son of a... James muttered. He felt sick. Cherub wasn't just an organisation James worked for. It was his home. It was all his friends. It was his school. Basically, his entire life. Confronted with the reality that Hewitt had lied to him, James realised that Kerry had been right. He hadn't truly believed Mr. Pike's conspiracy theory and had just come here to nose around and see what Hewitt was up to. James's hands trembled as he flipped frantically through more papers. There were thousands of sheets, probably hundreds of thousands of words, and he wouldn't be able to read them if he stayed up all night. He figured he could just skim through and read the basics. But then what? Hewitt was married to the chairman, and as much as James liked Zara, he wasn't sure that he could trust her to take his side over her own husband. She might even be in on Hewitt's scheme, whatever it turned out to be. That left the ethics committee, but its members were designed to be independent. They didn't live on campus, and they were all outsiders. Lawyers, retired policemen, and the like. Even if James approached one, what was to say that Hewitt wouldn't talk his way out of it? James realised that his only realistic option was to calm down, digest as much as he could, photocopy some of the most interesting paperwork, and then bring it to Mr. Pike, or maybe Merrill. There was a knock at the door. James jolted with fright, and a stack of papers cascaded out of his lap onto the carpet. This was a disaster. If the person at the door came in, it would be blindingly obvious that he'd been snooping. He crossed his fingers and willed the person to go away, but the handle turned and the door began sweeping across the carpet.